Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. We're going to get ourselves ready to get started. What's going on? I see my friend up in the DMV area just got on. What's going on? Good to see you. Talitha's on. Miss Sanders, what's going on? Hope everybody's having a good morning this morning. I'm so happy that you all jumped online. We're going to have ourselves a good interaction this morning, and so first, thank you all for being online today. I am Dr. Thomas Rashard Easley, and yes, I am wearing my name on my chest because I can do that. Yes, I did get my name trademarked. Just to go ahead and get some of the niceties out of the way. If you are here and want to continue to follow me outside of here, you can do that at RashardEasley.com. That's EASLEY. Good morning, Miss Sanders. Oh, wow, to get a good message. Okay, well, good. Well, I think that you're going to definitely get a good message this morning. Thank you for delaying your trip to get yourself a good message. I do appreciate that. You can also follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Snapchat under the same tag, Rashard Ease, EAS, and then Facebook.com/Rashard Easley. Or you can also look me up. My personal page is Thomas Easley. And let's see, and then youtube.com/RASHAADI, where I actually do post these messages and other messages. All right, so let's get started. Got the elixir of the champions here. Okay, so today is a message. If you have any questions, I'm going to ask you to actually email me because I won't really be taking questions on this post. And the email is thomasreasley@easleybranch.com. Okay, let's get started. I want to talk about two things this morning. The first one I want to talk about is energy. Your energy, your personal energy. If you saw me on Facebook this week, I actually put up a post about this energy. I was working out doing the Sanity Max 30, and then after I chilled out and I was making this juice, I was talking about energy. And I referenced one of my coworkers actually said to me recently, it was really, really funny. He said that I seem to be, he said, you're awfully cheery. And he was right. But I've been cheery for the last few months. But anyone who's worked with me, like within, or known me within the last 12 months to like 18 months, you know that it was a little something different. That there were times that I was in a different mood. And wasn't really excited or really, happy with where I was. And I think that a lot of people go through that or they know what it's like. And it's for obvious reasons. It could be because a promotion hasn't come or because someone has said that they were going to do something and they didn't do it, or you're waiting for something to happen and it doesn't happen. And we can also take negative energy with us. And I know that I was doing that at one time. And then back in April, I declared over my life and made a decree over myself that I said, I'm not going to leave work agitated, frustrated, or pissed off. Yes, I did say that to myself, like seriously. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to come home agitated, and I get agitated because when you do this diversity work, it's like you're trying to get people to do something that they really don't want to do in the first place. So you can always get agitated and then frustrated because you're working with people at times who could be good supporters, but they may not still get it. And I'm talking about from all kind of backgrounds. And then third, the whole pissed off part is when you see things being done that could be done in a different way to benefit other people. And you just like, man, like I just don't understand why this is happening. So I will carry that kind of energy with me. Okay, so now I want to pause there and I want to go back to something years ago. I want to go back to my past for those people who didn't know me 7 to 8 years ago. There was a time when I went out with numerous people. And at that time I would say, let's say like 4 people, kind of dating people. You're trying to get to know people and, see what's out there. And there were times when I would complain about stuff. Like nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect at all. I mean, hey, I'm a trip. I know it. But I would complain sometimes like, man, I kept meeting people that I would classify as needy. Like, I mean, these needy people, needy women, man, like what's up? And I would, just kind of say that. And it's one thing when you're complaining with people that will, kind of affirm what you're thinking. And it's another thing when you complain or talk to people who will challenge what you're thinking. And so one of my good close friends, I'll actually say her name, Sheila. She actually, she challenged me with something. And she understands like energy work and how to do various things. And so she said, T, have you ever thought about maybe the energy that you're putting out is the energy that you're getting back? and I had to pause. Has anyone ever said something to you? They were so right, just sometimes you just wanted to smack them because they were just right. It's like they called you out at the moment when you did not want to be called out. And that's what happened. That's what Sheila did. She called that out in me, and it contributed to me looking within instead of being externally focused, which a lot of people are, and instead of being externally stimulated, I really started looking within. And what I realized is that's the energy that I was putting off. I was putting off this needy energy. I was putting off this energy of I want someone to want me in this way. So I was also attracting it. Now, what I'm going to say next is not to say that this is a foolproof plan to ensure that this does not happen, but seriously, coming back to the current situation that I started with the whole work thing, when I made that switch in my mind and said that I'm not going home agitated, frustrated, or pissed off anymore, that meant that I had to make some changes, right? So here's the thing. I can't change another person or change an entire institution on my own. As a matter of fact, I'm not even in a position to change the policies of how a place works. So if I can't change the policies and I can't change the people, what can I change or who can I change? I can only change me. That's the only thing that I can change. And so I had to change my attitude towards work. I had to change my attitude towards some of the people that I was working with. What's going on? I had to make a lot of shifts within myself so that I could go to work a little bit happier. And one of the tough things that I did have to do was work had to change the position in my life that it was. Like work used to be a source of, fun and joy at times, and it kind of had to become a place of work. Like it really had to adjust and just really become that. I go in here, I do my thing, and I head out. But for some people that's sad, but for me that's actually not a sad thing, because in doing that it actually helped me to become even more focused in a way and to put my time and my energy in places that really gave back to me. So I was definitely more productive at work, got a lot more done, didn't take on a lot of extra stuff anymore, and really started to save my energy for me so that when I came home to me or to my loved one, I would be able to be nice and gentle because I didn't give all of my stuff or give myself completely all at work. And so when I made the shift, this is what was interesting. Things around me shifted. Things around me started moving around. Things around me started changing. What's going on, Russia? Glad to see you on. Things started changing relationally. Things got better. Things started changing financially. Things definitely got better. Things started changing emotionally and mentally. When I started to take my focus off of work being my source, which a lot of us really need to do, and I put, for me as a Christian, I put my attention back on God, and was more like, okay, God, I know you have me here for a reason. You got me here for a purpose. Okay, but I'm going to focus my attention back to you instead of focusing it here on these people for them to be my source of happiness or joy or peace, and I'm actually going to make it you. And once I did that, that same energy went out, and I really noticed that it started permeating around and about, because the people that were coming around me started changing. It started shifting too. And so, exactly, it's definitely good for your health. And so what I want to encourage us to do is, even though I am a workout person, I'm big on working out and taking care of yourself, but that's not the only source of happiness. And I've been looking at Andy Stanley. He's a pastor online that I follow besides my home pastor, Pastor Charles Weldon Brooks. And he's doing a series right now, Andy Stanley, that is on happiness. And one of the things that he talks about in his series is how happiness is really tied to a who and not a what. And that happier people are usually those people who serve and give of themselves. So people who don't really serve or give of themselves, if their whole life is really kind of just them and maybe their home life, they may not be as happy, but the people who give of themselves really are, because you're getting something back as you're giving, or as Jesus would say, you're sowing and reaping. And so in John 10:10, Jesus even talks about the thief. And I'm also referencing something that Andy Stanley said. But if you go, please check him out. yourmove.is. And Jesus talks about what a thief is. And most people use this scripture in reference to Satan only, right? If you believe in Satan or not, or whether you believe in Jesus or not. But he says that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Now, let me continue in full openness here again, yet about Thomas Rashard Easley. I know that I've been a thief in people's lives before, and I've had thieves in my life before. Not on my part, I would say it wasn't an intentional thing, but I know that we all can contribute to people losing their joy, their happiness, and different things like that. But what I really like is when Andy Stanley pointed out who can be the biggest thief in every one of our lives. Let me just sit here for about 10 seconds and let you think about who can be the biggest thief in your life. Let me help you out with who can be the biggest thief in your life. You bought it. You dated it. You paid for it. You said yes or said no. You went there. You joined it. You attended it. You can be the biggest thief in your life. And I'm saying that because especially when we talk about relationally or, like getting to know people, exactly me, we can be our own biggest thief and sometimes not even realize it. And so just like my friend Sheila pointing out to me, the energy that I was putting out contributed to the energy that I was getting back. Some people may not realize that maybe you may not seem as approachable or seem as nice because the energy that you're putting out, is saying that I'm not that. Maybe you don't seem as attractive to other people because maybe that's not the energy that you're putting out for yourself. Like I'm not this, I'm not that. Maybe people come, around you when you really don't want to be bothered because maybe the energy you're putting out is, yeah, come and see me. I want you to come and talk to me, so on and so forth. Now, what I'm not saying is change your energy to turn people off and to be mean. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is the one thing that you can control is you. And if you can get that energy right, and the way to get that energy right is to really change that focus. Take that mind off of that source and put your mind on, in my case, the right source, and then the energy will start to work to balance out in such a way that hopefully things around you will start to change. Hopefully things around you will start to move. I know that that's what happened to me, which now leads me to the second thing that I want to talk about, and I really wanted to put more energy on this. So we talked about energy first, right? Check your energy. Okay, check yourself. Make sure that the energy that you're putting out is the energy that you want back. As a matter of fact, I put a post up on Instagram about 2 weeks ago, and the question was, if everything you did could be reciprocated back to you, would you change what you do? Would you do it the same way? Maybe that's a yes, maybe that's a no. Which actually, me just saying that word is a segue into the next subject today. Now, even though things are going great relationally for me, or emotionally for me, and even these days financially for me, I would never tell you that I think I am an expert on any of those three areas. I would not tell you that because I am not. Maybe my mom and my dad could be the experts on that, or if my grandmother and grandfather, they were still alive, may they rest and rest, like they could tell you. But I want to kind of give a suggestion or an idea with regard to maybe how we engage with one another today. Okay, now I am going to say this, a quick disclaimer. I am going to kind of more so talk about heterosexual interactions. Why? Because one, same gender attraction and relationships I have no experience with. I don't know anything about that, even though I know that there are obviously plenty of similarities because we all human, so come on now. But I don't want to use that as my reference because I don't have any experience with that. But I do have experience, or a lot of experience, between, male, female. And there's some rhetoric that is really going around today where a lot of people are saying things like, and I do feel like it's an attack on our GLBTQ community at times, when they say men don't know how to be men anymore and women don't know how to be women anymore. And this is why we're struggling in our relationships. And I do not prescribe to that. I do not preach that or condone that, and I don't even agree with that. So I want to just put that out there and say I don't agree with that. But I do think that we as a people are struggling when it comes to being in relationship with each other. And I believe part of that is because, thank you Talitha for agreeing, appreciate that. Part of the reason that I think we're struggling is really because so many things are coming at us so fast. And maybe some of us haven't had good examples of how to be with each other. But the other thing I want us to think about is they don't even teach us how to be with each other. Like they don't even educate us on actually doing that. And what I mean is we learn more so in schools in particular. We learn how to work for other people and be good workers for other people. We don't learn how to be great human beings. They don't teach us that. They don't teach us how men can interact with men, or boys with boys, or girls with girls, women with girls, women with women. We don't learn that in school. We don't learn how to engage with each other. We kind of learn about what happens when we disengage with each other, but we don't learn about how to be with one another. So I want to talk about that, and I want to offer one word to you. It's a 5-syllable word, and it's not communication. But this is a part of it, though. And the one word that I want to offer is reciprocation. That's the word I want to offer to all of us right now as far as how we engage with each other, and that is reciprocation. Now, let me explain to you why I believe that reciprocation, in my opinion, is a great suggestion and is really the key. By going back to what we actually do when we think about how to engage with each other, and especially when we think relationally how we should be together. So in my case, I'm very fortunate for something. I was raised by my grandparents. I'm real fortunate that I had my grandparents on my mother's side in my life. So while I'm in my before teenager, leading up to teenager, I'm hanging out with 70 and 80-year-old people who grew up basically old school. My grandparents were married for 53 years. My grandmother died in 1992. So she's been gone away from the earth for 24 years. My parents, fortunately, are still alive. And I unfortunately didn't get a chance to meet my father's parents. But my parents have been together for 39 years, right? So go Easleys, go Tom and Marion. And then my grandfather passed away in 1997. So let's go back to my grandparents. And the reason that I'm going to go back to my grandparents is because maybe like me, a lot of you, when we look at relationships, the reference that we have to look at is probably our parents. If we had good parents or had that, or maybe our grandparents, right? So many people want what their parents had, and they want what maybe they saw their grandparents have, right? I also know that in this day and time, a lot of people, like people have been divorced, different things like that. But I'm talking to those people who grew up and they have that as a reference, parents and grandparents. So I'm going to think about my grandparents for a moment, okay? My grandparents were married for 53 years before my grandmother passed. My grandparents, that means they got married in 1939. My parents have been married now for 39 years, which means that my parents got married in 1977. I came soon thereafter, 1978. So you already know what was going on. Whatever. Okay, so I thought that I was the plan, but I was the mistake. But oops, I got over that. It took me about 28 years, but I'm good. And so my grandparents were married in 1939. What was going on in 1939? We were coming out of a what? Depression. And World War II was getting ready to get started. That's on top of other things, right? But I just want you to think about that, the social climate that was going on back then. I think about 1977 when my parents got married. In 1977, the Civil Rights Movement was over. The Vietnam War was over. And now integration was almost kind of like really almost complete, because even in when we think about Charlotte versus Mecklenburg, which was, and then the antithesis of Brown versus Board of Education, which was 1954, Charlotte versus Mecklenburg was still going on, segregation in education in the 70s. But around that time, segregation was really being torn down. And so we were now integrated, and we were going to school together, and a lot of cultures, were actually really intermingling and different things like that. Okay, but I grew up in the 80s and I grew up in the 90s, and things really changed, right? And so I'm thinking about when my grandparents were married, and around that time, women had not too long, it was just 1920, had just gotten the right to vote, so 19 years before that. And also want to point something out about that not having the right to vote also contributed to the right to work, and to even decide your own destiny, and to decide your own life, and what it was that you would do. So my grandparents grew up with my grandfather being the breadwinner, and my grandmother basically kind of being dependent on my grandfather for money. Now look at my parents. Both my parents worked. Mom was a teacher who turned an entrepreneur, who started her own business. My father in the medical field, going into computer engineering, and working for Xerox. So things really changed, you see. So you go from not working to working, or not being able to work, and not being able to vote or have rights, to having rights and different things like that. And then you go from maybe men in particular being like the breadwinner and being the person who's supposed to be on top of the world. And our role kind of gets a little dialed back, if you will. Well, now women can run companies, and women can be in charge, and men can be a little bit more nurturing, if you will, or maternal, if you will, and and can actually step back. But my grandmother showed me something, and she was definitely one of my greatest teachers. My grandmother, when I was a boy, was not dependent on my grandfather financially. My grandmother took care of the house. As a matter of fact, my grandmother made her own money. My grandmother had 3 businesses. My grandmother was she was a hairstylist. She had a salon in the back of the house. My grandmother was one of the best cooks still to this day in my life. So she cooked food for other people and made cakes, and she sold, and I'm talking about made significant amount of money doing that. And the biggest business I think my grandmother had was she had a daycare. So I was raised with other children. Like my grandmother raised other people's children like they were her own, or my grandmother and my grandfather. I learned how to take care of babies when I was a baby. So I learned how to feed a baby, burp a baby, change a baby. I learned how to cook and clean before I was 10. I knew how to press my clothes before I was 10. She taught me things to take care of myself so that I could do a lot more. Now, what she taught me in a way, some would say stereotypically, that's what women did, right? And I'm so glad my grandmother showed me a different life and showed me something different, because men can do it too, obviously. And she taught me that. She said she didn't want me to be dependent on her. She didn't want me to be like my grandfather. She didn't want me to be dependent. My grandmother was a pioneer well beyond her century, let alone her years, because she planted seeds of equality in me very early, and they're still playing out to this day. I'm giving you this long thing, like this long story, because I really want to explain why I think reciprocation is very, very important. Because I'm sure you, just like me, maybe like women in particular, and I'm not trying to talk about women and say like everything is equal, because I know that it's not. So I'm not naive in that way. And women, you need to do this, and I'm not going to do that because I'm not a woman. I'm not going to give women a prescription of what to do and to be a woman. I'm not going to do that. Or even really a man, even though I'm a man. But I just want to point this out. Do you know people, or are you that person that's probably very independent and wants to be treated independent and brilliant? But when times get hard and when times get bad, you may fall back into that role that you were socialized to be, which is docile, quiet, dependent on somebody else. Are you a man like me who would like a little bit more leniency and a little bit more leverage, people to kind of give you a little bit more space, a little bit more time to do stuff? But when times get hard and when things get out of control, you step up and I'm the man and I'm the one that's in charge. You see how oxymoronic that is? I even had a coworker of mine, Katie, who said this to me when she first started working. And Katie was like the head of security. And Katie, Katie is like, she's like, buff. You can obviously tell she's strong. Like I've seen women bench 225 and run faster than men and all that stuff. And she said it is hard sometimes when things happen that you fall back into those socialized roles, into those gender roles. And she said sometimes, because she's engaged, she said sometimes I have to fight that because it's so natural, because you've been doing it for so long, to fall back into that. And so this is why I say reciprocation is very important, because I like to invite you that anything that you want someone else to do, make sure you're doing it yourself. Anything, like for example, if you want someone to be a great cook or cleaner, then I suggest you get to cooking and cleaning. If you want someone, friend or more, to be with someone who's great with money, I suggest you start working on getting good with your money. If you want someone to sit down and shut up and listen to you and have an open mind, I suggest you start working on sitting down, shutting up, and having an open mind. The thing that you want is the thing that you should start doing. And one of the reasons I say it's the thing that you should start doing is because I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about from my experience. The more you do it, the less you're going to be depending on other people to do it, because you understand what it's like. And you understand in some ways how hard it can be to do this. It's kind of like men who put these requirements on women. Like, I want my woman to look this way. I want my woman to behave this way, right? Anyone who's ever been with me, period, Okay, and even now can tell you, I don't put those kind of things on people. Like, I'm not one of them folks. Like, look, as much as I love to stay in shape, I'm not one who puts my shape and my exercise regime and hardness on somebody else to do. Why? Because I know it's hard to do. And I didn't just get here. I didn't just wake up and get here. No, I became like this. I worked on it 16 years in the making. So I developed the habit. But because I developed it, I'm not upset when other people don't do it. Probably because I don't do it, but that also is because I understand why people do or don't do something. Now, I know some of you are wondering in my last 5 minutes, is this man going to tie this back to the Bible? Actually, yes, I am going to tie this back to the Bible. Watch this right here. Whether you have your Bible out or not, I'm going to invite you to do something. I just pulled mine out. Because I know you're like, for real? How you going to do this? I want to first tie it back to Genesis. I want to go back to creation. That's actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it back to creation. And I want to start with Genesis 1, and I'm going to just do verse 26. Just verse 26. Because I think that people use the creation story, in my opinion, in a way of why men should be over women. And I don't even agree with that. I don't prescribe to that. And I never have. Thank God I never have. I don't know why God made me like this, but I'm glad that God did. Genesis 1:26 says, and this is the sixth day where man or mankind was made. And it said, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And I'm really just going to stop at the first part of it when it said, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Make man in our image. So what that tells me right there is that if we can think about God having a consciousness, if you like whether you believe in that or not. And as I said, I'm not taking questions today, so you have to email me on, something else. He said, God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So what that tells me right there is that man and woman were automatically in God's consciousness from the beginning. There was no man's more important than women, or women are less important than men. Okay, regardless of whether you believe in this or not, I don't believe that men were thought about first and then women came second. Do not believe in that. I just don't know. Whether you believe in evolution or not, I just don't believe that happened. Because here's why. I'm going to tell you why. Because when life comes into the earth, who brings life into the earth? Exactly, women. Exactly. So I'm not one who prescribes to like men being more important than women and so on and so forth, nor men being stronger than women. I have plenty of examples that challenges that. Okay. Now what I also want to do is now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do something. This is just my crazy way of thinking. All right. And I'm going to flip to Genesis 3. Now, in Genesis 3, this is right before Adam and Eve get kicked out of the Garden of Eden, whether you believe in Adam and Eve or not. In the story, they basically disobey God, eat the apple, get kicked out of the garden. But I found something interesting. It's how they were kicked out. And there's something that happened before they were kicked out. And I'm going to read from Genesis 3:14 through 21. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to read it backwards instead of forward. Okay? So just follow along with me. Genesis 21. Like, if you got your Bibles, you can roll with me. If not, it's all good. Say, and Adam also unto his wife did the Lord God make coat of skins and clothe them. So that meant that they were naked in the garden. So now they're ashamed. They have to cover themselves up. So what does that tell me? That we should not be ashamed of how we look and what we are. 20. And Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. Oh, all right. Gave her the name Eve. Got it. Verse 19, in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. So that's to let you know that when you die, because those who believe, in this is said that we were not, created to die, but after what happened in the Bible, and this section right here is called the curse. Now we are dying, but it says from dust we came, to dust we shall return. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. So now you're going to eat things from the world. That also means that you're going to work to eat the food. Verse 17, and unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. So now you're going to eat only from the ground. Now, it's verse 16 that really started to get my attention. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And that's where I stopped right there. I was like, wait a minute. And the husband shall rule over her. Okay, so, and if you continue on and go further, you see how things change. The reason that I wanted to read that backwards is because, see, I'm all about going back to how things originally were set. Like, it's just like when I talk about history now, or when I talk about the Constitution, I have no problem talking about the beautiful words of the Constitution, but the ugly personality of the people who coined it. When I look at those who owned slaves and those who didn't. And while people focus on the Constitution, I still focus on the practice that was going on at the time. So with this, not that I want to get caught up in trying to tell you what to believe or what to feel, but when I read this, I'm like, wait a minute. So the way God even meant it in the beginning, whether you believe this or not, is that we were equals. We were always meant to be equals. We were always meant to be right here, men and women. Not men here, women here. And there are societies too, and I respect them for real, like women here and men here. Like in certain parts of Africa, in particular West Africa, you have queen mothers who actually can instruct the kings what to do, right? But men and women were supposed to be here. That's why I read the other scripture first, that we were created at the same time. And so to me, recognizing that we were created at the same time tells me that this is why reciprocation is so important. Because what you will want someone to do is something that you need to be doing. Not what most people try to do today, which is lean to gender roles. And some people try to lean on what Moses said or lean on what Paul said as a follower of Jesus. I looked at how Jesus treated people. As a rabbi, he wasn't supposed to talk to women, but he did. As a man, he wasn't supposed to have women as his disciples, but he did. Right? As a rabbi, he wasn't supposed to talk to, as they say, the vermin in society, but those are the only people that he hung out with. Those are the people that he ate with. Those are the people that he preached to. So what I'm saying is that we need to do a little bit more instead of seeing each other like I'm over here and you're here, or I'm out there and you're here, is we got to start looking more and seeing each other as though we're both right here, and we got to meet in the middle. We have to see each other as amazing and see each other as the same as much as we can. And so this is the reason why I say to you all, why I think reciprocation is really the key to help us out relationally. So on this note, I'm closing out to say, remember, check that energy, check your energy, monitor what it is that you're putting out into the world, and so I really want to encourage us to watch our energy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, men wrote that and they use it to this day, and that's why it's so hard. Exactly. So I totally agree with that. There's no argument there, like for sure. And I have no problem debunking that and challenging that as a man. And it's my duty to actually do that. And then the reciprocation. Please try not to expect people to do something that you're not willing to do. Try not to expect people to do something that you are not willing to do, and just watch what happens the more you reciprocate or you try to do what you would want someone to do for you. And I'm talking in a gentle way. So I'm not saying if you're one of those people who like people to come at you hard, you come at people hard. But I'm saying especially those people who want people to treat them nice and be patient with them and give them room and space. What I'm inviting you to do is to do the same thing. Make sure that you're giving people room and space. Whatever it is that you want, make sure it's the thing that you are doing. The way you want to be treated, make sure it's the thing that you are doing. And if you're in the Raleigh area, 2810 Case Avenue starts with a C. We will be there at 11 a.m. today. Myself and Miss Lanier are going to be doing a tag team message at 11 a.m. I'm going to be talking about the origins of Halloween and how a Christian is to govern him or herself during Halloween. And she's going to be talking about the wilderness. Hey, so you all get ready. Come out. We'd love to have you. We'd love to see you there. If we can, we will be online. We will be recording, and I will be recording to post it up later. Thank you all for getting up with me this morning. Go have a good day. I'm still sipping on this elixir. Time for my meditation and yoga before going to church. God bless. Peace.